Good morning. Our today's class is on report writing. Dear students, it's our second class on report writing. In our first class, we discussed the theoretical aspects of report writing, how to prepare a report, and at the same time, I also discussed sub-skills of writing. Why I discussed sub-skills of writing and why I discussed theoretical aspects of report writing? Because these things are necessary to write a report, to prepare a report. In the sub-skills of writing, I discussed style, content, organization, then grammar, vocabulary, and mechanics. And you know that these sub-skills are very important not only for report writing, but for any type of writing. That is why we discussed the sub-skills of writing. So, if you are new in today's class, if you didn't attend the previous class, so it's my suggestion that you do the first class and then you attend this one. It will be better for you to understand report writing in that case. Now, we discussed the different parts of report in our previous class. So in today's class, I am just giving you some ideas from my previous class. You know that in any kind of news report, in case of news report, you are supposed to give the title. So the title of any news report is very important. Why it is important? Because the title attracts the readers. And what are the rules of writing the title of any report? The first thing you have to remember that the title of any news report, it has to be very attractive. I am telling you again, if you are new, that we did one class on report writing, and in that class everything was discussed in details, even the theoretical aspects. I am just discussing the major points from my previous class. Now, the title of any report, it has to be very attractive. Why it has to be very attractive? Because if the title doesn't attract the readers, then they will not get interested or feel interest in the report. And if you want to make the title very attractive, then the title has to be very short. There are other rules also for writing the title, and the rules are that you should not use a capital letter for all the words or for all the alphabets. There is a problem, and sometimes we see that students write every word in capital form, but that is not suggested. You are not allowed to do that. How you will write the title of a report? You have to write the title of report in this manner. Price soaring high. It's the title of a report on price hike. And another title, New Year celebrated. Now, look, I have used the first alphabet of every word as capital. P is capital, soaring S is capital, high H is capital. New Year celebrated, new in the word new, M is capital, in the word year Y is capital, and in the word celebrated C is capital. Now, this is the way you have to write the title of any report. Remember one more thing, if there is any preposition or article in this title and if it is not at the beginning of the title, then you should not use the capital form. I repeat, if there is any article or preposition over here, you will use the small letter, not the capital letter. I discussed all these things in my previous class, so I am not going to explain that much in today's class. And I hope that you can also remember that you are not supposed to use the auxiliary verb in the title of the report. That, look, I have also omitted the auxiliary verb. Price is soaring high. That is the right sentence, but I have omitted is because we are allowed, the news reporters are allowed and the newspapers are allowed not to use auxiliary verb in the title of the report, because it basically, if you use the auxiliary verb in the title of any report, then it will lose its attraction. That's why you will not use any auxiliary verb in the title of the report. Now, After title, what is important? The identity of the reporter. And how you will give the identity of the reporter? You can write staff reporter or staff correspondent, and then you have to insert a comma, and after that you have to insert the date, say for example 20th May or 12th May, and then the year. Now we also observe one thing, that some students, they also write the name of the newspaper. So writing the name of the newspaper is not necessary, because the editor knows that you are an employee of that newspaper. That is why you will simply write staff correspondent. If you think that you need to write local correspondent or cultural correspondent, write it, no problem. But if you write local correspondent, then after writing local correspondent, you have to mention the name of the area. So it's better to write, instead of local correspondent, Rajshahi correspondent, then comma, then insert the date and year, and then give a colon. That's all. You don't need to use the name of the newspaper, because everybody knows, I mean at least the editor knows, that you are an employee of that newspaper. So after giving the identity of the reporter, what comes? The most important sentence of the report comes, and it is known as a hook sentence or nut graph. What is that nut graph? In the nut graph, or in the first sentence of the report, every important detail is given. That means the most important information are given in the first sentence, and in the first sentence the answers of all WH questions are given. For example, what happened, why did it happen, where did it happen, how did it happen, when did it happen. So the answer of all these WH questions come at the beginning sentence, and that sentence is known as nut graph or hook sentence. Now the question arises that why should we give all the major information at the beginning sentence? You have to remember that the readers are their time, I mean the time of the readers is very important, and you must give them the scope to understand the major information of the news that you are preparing. If they get time, then they will go to the body. So after the hook sentence or the nut graph comes the body, and the body of a report can be divided into several paragraphs, but we teachers, we suggest the students to divide the body in either 2 or 3 paragraphs, not more than 2 paragraphs. You can also confine it to a single paragraph. What will you do in the body? You have to explain and extend and unfold the details of the report. I mean, what you said in the first sentence is the major information, but what you will do in the body, you have to explain everything. You have to unfold the incident, and when you will prepare the body, if you feel that you need to quote someone, you can also do that, but never use first person and second person in your report, because you are an objective person. You are a reporter. You are supposed to be very objective in your report writing. You are not allowed to use first person and second person in your report, and if necessary you can quote someone in the body, and if you quote someone, that will give a kind of message. And remember one thing, that you don't divide the body into several paragraphs. You can notice that the body of report can be divided into many paragraphs. If you look at the Daily Star, if you look at the Guardian, New York Times, you will see that sometimes the report is divided into many paragraphs. But you are a student, and remember that you will appear at the examination. That's why we suggest that confine the body of your report to a single paragraph or at best 2 paragraphs. And finally, what is very important, that a report writing never demands a formal conclusion, and you are also not supposed to give any formal conclusion. The conclusion of any report, the conclusion is not necessary for any report. No formal conclusion is necessary for any report, but conclusion is necessary for paragraph writing, essay writing, it's true. But in case of report writing, you don't need to provide it. And after that, you will just simply finish your report. Now, we have discussed some of the theoretical aspects, and we repeated it because in our previous class we discussed these things. And now we will straight go to some examples of report writing, and we will see that what kind of language is being used and what is the format of that report writing, and that's why let's go to our slide and see that how a report is written. The first report we will practice is about the publication of HSC results. And dear students, look at the title. The title is HSC Results Published. And notice that I have used a phrase. No sentence has been used in the title. And naturally, as we discussed when we explained the theoretical aspects of report writing, I said that in the title of any news report, maintaining rigid grammatical rules is not mandatory. That's why HSC results have been published, could have been grammatically appropriate sentence, but since it is the title of a report, the auxiliary verb has been deleted, and HSC results published has been used as the title of this report. And then look, there is the identity of the writer, of the reporter, and the date has also been given. Now here you see the entire report as a whole, so it's not possible to see everything clearly. That's why I am going to the next slide so that we can see every part of the report. Now the title again, HSC Results Published, that is the title of the report, and I have also inserted the identity of the reporter. The identity over here, you see that staff correspondent, since it's a national issue, so local correspondent or Rajshahi correspondent, that phrase has not been used over here. Instead, we have used staff correspondent, and then date has been given 12 July 2019, since we are talking about the results that were published last year, and 12 July 2019. Now, I said that there is a tendency among the students that they also use the name of the newspaper. It's not at all necessary. Then you simply, after giving the identity of the reporter, like staff correspondent and then date, you can simply give a colon and start writing the report next. Now, the hook sentence, the sentence you can obviously remember, which is very important in the report, the first sentence, where we provide the answer of all WH questions, and basically we maintain, or we basically give only one sentence in the as a hook sentence or in the knot graph. But over here we will see that we have used two sentences. Now you can use one sentence, you can also use two sentences if you feel the necessity that in a single sentence you cannot answer all the WH questions, or you cannot provide all the information, major information, then you can also do it in two different sentences. Now the first sentence, HSC results of 10 education boards were published across the country simultaneously at 3 p.m. yesterday. Now you see that what was published, HSC results were published. How many boards? 10 education boards, and it was published across the country, and it was also published simultaneously. When was it published? It was published 3 p.m. yesterday officially. But look at the next sentence. Around 10:30 a.m. Education Minister Dr. Dipu Moni handed over a copy of the results to Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina at Ganobhavan in Dhaka. Now the results were handed over to the Honorable Prime Minister in Dhaka at 10:30 a.m. But officially the result was published for the people or the guardians and the students. They could see the results of their children at 3 p.m. So officially, at first it was handed over to the Honorable Prime Minister at 10:30 a.m. and finally it was published for the people at 3 p.m. and everything happened obviously yesterday. So instead of a single sentence, we have used two sentences as the knot graph, and we have tried to provide the major information in the knot graph, what we discussed in the when we explained the theoretical aspects of report writing. Now let's go to the body. I said that the body of a report can be divided into several paragraphs, but we have decided that we will confine the body of the report to 1 or 2 paragraphs at best. Now let's look at the body, and what we will do in the body. In the body we will unfold. We will explain everything in details. We will explain the information that we provided in the nut graph. Now see, more than 12 lakhs 3,640 students from 8,345 institutions took this year's HSC and its equivalent examinations. So how many candidates were there? 12 lakhs 3,640. And from how many institutions? 8,345 institutions, and took this year's HSC. That means they appeared at the HSC examination this year and its equivalent examinations. You know, there are different boards and madrasa board as well. So that's why we have used the term equivalent examinations. Of them, 8,99,150 students have passed. Or over here, you can also use past indefinite tense. You can also say students passed the tests that began on April 3rd or April 3. Basically, over here, we are providing the information that the examination started on 3rd April, and now the results have been published, and 8,99,150 students have passed the examination. So we have provided the information how many students appeared at the examination and from how many institutions and how many of them have passed. So what are the rest major information we need? Let's look at the next sentence. Total 74.7% students passed this year's higher secondary certificate and its equivalent examinations across the country, which is 5.1 percentage points higher than that of previous year, or that of the previous year, you can also say. Now you will see some differences in the structure of sentences. Now over here you see that higher than that of the previous year, it could also do, and we have not used the article the. We can also say that of previous year. Now, what information we have given here, we have provided here that its equivalent examinations across the country, 74.7% students have passed. And this pass percentage is higher than that of last year. How much higher it is? It is 5.1 percentage points higher. And look at the phrases we have used. Don't simply say that 5.1% percentage higher than that of previous year. You have to say 5.1 percentage points higher than that of previous year. So there are some sentences which you will see in the news report which you or we need to understand and we need to study minutely, because these are sentences which we often see in the newspapers, and this is basically the style of newspaper language. So you must see and observe these sentences very carefully. And now let's go to the next slide. Now in this slide, what we see, after a big downslide in last year's HSC results, it indicates that last year the results of HSC, it was not up to mark. Students this year have done better. So there is a kind of comparison, and you will notice it in the news report, because when there is a report on the results of HSC, naturally a kind of comparison and contrast with the previous year's result will be there. And what we see over here, we see that this year's results are better than last year, registering a considerable rise in both pass rates and achieving GPA 5. And what changes we notice in this year's results? We notice that there is a rise in pass percentage, and at the same time there is a rise even in the number of GPA 5 achievers. And these are remarkable things that we notice in this year's result. So this kind of comparison and contrast, if you write a report on the publication of results, whether it is HSC results or SSC results, it's better to give or provide a kind of comparison and contrast with the last or previous year's result. A total of 58,276 students secured GPA 5 under the boards this year. So we are also providing information about the number of GPA 5 achievers. And what is the number? The number is 58,276. Now, what about rising by 15,382 from last year's number? So, last year, the number of students who secured GPA 5, the number was less than this year. And how much rise we notice? 15,382 students, more students got GPA 5 this year. So this is the rise, and the rise is 15,382. That means 15,382 number of students have got GPA 5, and this is the number which is higher than last year. So what about the number of GPA 5 achievers last year? It will be around 43,000. Madrasa board has topped the list in terms of pass rate. Now we also want to show that if we consider pass rate, then which board tops the results? We notice here that Madrasa board tops the result with pass percentage, highest pass percentage among all the boards. This year now girls have done better than boys, as their pass rate is 1.67 percentage points higher than that of the male examinees. Now there is again a kind of comparison between the boys and girls whose results are better, and we see that girls have done comparatively good in this year's result, as their pass percentage is 1.67 percentage points higher than that of the male examinees. Yesterday's results also showed that the number of colleges with zero pass rate has come down to 25 from 35 last year. Last year, there were 35 institutions where no student passed, and this year the number has declined to 25. That means over here the declining trend is also positive, because from 25 institutions no student has passed, and last year the number was 35. That means last year there were 35 institutions from where no student passed. So over here we also see a positive trend in the results of HSC. Now this was basically the information about this year's result. Colleges across the country wore a festive look. Now we are discussing that what about the sentiments and attitude of the students and the guardians. Students and their parents, who looked anxious for some time, erupted into jubilation as soon as they received the results. You know that when results are published, we see that the successful candidates or the successful students who secure GPA 5 or who perform according to their expectation, they become very happy, and this happiness has been expressed through the use of a phrase, erupted into jubilation. Erupted into jubilation means they were really extremely happy, and as soon as they received the results, they became extremely happy. Some danced while some showed victory signs, and they basically, when we see results are published, we see that the students start dancing, singing, doing this and that, and then we have used a quotation, "I am extremely happy, my hard work has paid off." It means that said a jubilant Tasmia who secured GPA 5 from Rajshahi College. Now we are quoting the emotion of a student whose name is Tasmia, and she has said that she is extremely happy and her hard work has finally been paid off. That means she has got the result of her hard work. Now this is a phrase, has paid off, means she has got the result of her hard work. Now these are the phrases that you will try to remember. And she passed from Rajshahi College. So why do we use this type of quotation? to make the report more lively, to make the report more realistic and practical. You are a reporter. You cannot use your own emotions and passions. Naturally, you have to quote someone to express the emotions of people. She gave all the credit to her teachers and parents. And what did she do? She gave all the credits to her teachers and parents. That basically the students do. And now let's come to the conclusion. I said earlier that report writing doesn't require any formal conclusion, but still, how we can conclude the report? We can conclude the report in this manner. Education Minister Dr. Dipu Moni has attributed the overall success to the combined efforts of the teachers, students and guardians. So the Honorable Education Minister, she has said that the success of this year's HSC results are basically it is because of the teachers, students and guardians. Their collective effort has enhanced this year's HSC results. So that's how you can conclude the report. So this is the first one that we explained in today's class, and we will explain another report in today's class. Now let's go to the next report. Okay, this report is on price hike, and you see what title we have given: Sharp Rise of Price, Life Made Difficult. Now, as we did in our previous report, that we discussed different parts of the report in different slides. So let's go to different slides and let's see how we can write a report or prepare a report on price hike. Now look at the title: Sharp Rise of Price, Life Made Difficult. So two phrases have been used. Now instead of using two phrases, you can also write it in a single phrase. You can write the title of this report in a single phrase. You can say price soaring high, but don't use auxiliary verb. Don't say price is soaring high. You can say price soaring high. You can also write the title the way I wrote over here: Sharp Rise of Price, Life Made Difficult. This is how you can prepare. So two phrases can also be used, but when you write the title, remember the techniques that I discussed, that don't use auxiliary verb in the title, and make the title very attractive so that the readers find interest to read the report. If you cannot draw the attention of the readers through your title, then the readers will show no interest in the report, and naturally they will not read it. Now, after giving the title, what we have done, as we did in our previous report, staff correspondent 12 May 2020, just give the identity of the reporter and then date, and don't write the name of the newspaper. And then what we will do, we will provide the most important sentence of the report. We know that the name of the sentence is hook sentence or nut graph, and we have to provide the major information over here. The price hike of the essentials has put the people of middle and low income group at bay. At bay means in difficulties. Now, this is a newspaper English. So if you think that this is a tough phrase, so you can use instead of at bay into difficulties or something like that. You can use different phrases, no problem. But we will try to identify, and we will try to learn some new phrases, because you know that when the topic varies from one to another, naturally the vocabulary also varies. So if we don't learn new vocabulary, and if we want to continue with our already learned vocabulary, then our vocabulary will never be enriched. So let's look at the hook sentence. What sentence we have used? The price hike of the essentials has put the people of middle and low income group at bay. That means the price hike of the necessary items has put the people, basically not all the people, the rich people are they never face any problem. The middle and low income group, they are in troubles. So if we ask questions that what is the issue is price hike. And where is the price hike? The price hike of the essentials. And what has it done? It has put the people into troubles. And which classes of people, or which class of people are in troubles? Both middle and low income groups are in troubles. So the answer of most of the WH questions have been provided in the first sentence. Now let's go to the body of the report. From fishes to furniture and kitchen markets to bus fares. You know, fish to furniture, and kitchen markets means the market where you buy vegetables and other things, to bus fares. Why these phrases have been used? To show that problems exist everywhere. Price hike has touched every sphere of life. Everything has experienced a sharp rise in price in recent times. So every sector, in the fish market, in the furniture market, in the kitchen market, in the bus fares, in the train fares, we can gaze that everywhere we can see that price hike has influenced the life of people. Everything has experienced a sharp rise in price in recent times, and everything has experienced. That means we see the rise symptom or the sign of price hike in every sector, in every sphere of our life. The prices of the essentials are feared to rise further. This is how you will write this type of sentence. You will never say the prices of the essentials will rise further. You cannot say that, because it is apprehended. It is apprehended that the price of the essentials are feared to rise further. That means it may rise further. The people of lower income group have already found it difficult to bear their daily expenses. Now look at the problem of the lower income group, because they are the worst sufferers. What has happened to them? The people of lower income group have already found it difficult to bear their daily expenses. It has become very difficult for them to maintain their life, to earn their livelihood. So in the previous sentence, what we saw, that the price hike is feared. I mean, the price of essentials is feared to rise further. So the lower income group is already in troubles. So if the price rises further, then it will be extremely difficult for the lower income group to earn their livelihood. Edible oil, that means soybean, sells 110 taka per liter. Sugar sells 56 taka. Onion is 45 taka, whereas garlic sells 120 taka per kilogram. Now we have also given the price of different items. The economists warn further rise in prices, and the economists, they have given a kind of warning that the price of these essentials may rise further. Fishes are already out of reach of the lower income group. We have already noticed that fishes, the price of fishes is already out of the reach of the lower income group people. At Karwan Bazar, Mohammad Shuman, a banker, told this reporter that he has a good salary structure and even he finds it difficult to buy fish. Now we are quoting a person whose name is Shuman, and he is a banker, and he says that his salary structure is good and still he finds it difficult to buy fish. So if such a person, such a solvent person finds problem to buy fish, then it's really very difficult for the poor people. And we are quoting him, how will the low income people buy fish? So if asked Shuman is asking that if he, being a solvent man, fails to buy fish, then what will happen to other people? Because it will be extremely difficult for the lower income group to buy fish. Now we will go to the next slide. Now we are continuing with the report, price hike, and we are towards the end of the body. As a drastic step, the Prime Minister called on the leading businessmen of the country, urging them to keep price within the reach of the common people. She vowed to take stern action if any group was identified to form syndicate. Now this is the ending part of the body, and you can also consider that these are the concluding sentences. as I mentioned earlier, that we don't need any concluding sentence in any kind of report, but the way we will conclude the report, there will be a kind of technique to conclude it. As a drastic step, the Prime Minister called on the leading businessmen. Now, since we are facing problem with price hike, so who will take the initiative? Definitely the Honorable Prime Minister. And naturally, she has also taken the initiative. So this is how you can conclude the report. As a drastic step, the Prime Minister called on the leading businessmen of the country, urging them to keep price within the reach of the common people. And she requested the businessmen, and what kind of request she made to the businessmen? She asked them to keep the price within the reach of common people, so that they take some initiatives that the prices becomes lower or less than what is existing now. Now, she vowed to take stern action if any group was identified to form syndicate. She also at the same time said that warned the people, or basically the people who make syndicate, and they raise the price of different essentials. She warned them and said that if there was any initiative to create a syndicate and increase the price of daily necessary things or essentials, then stern or tough actions will be taken against them. So this is how you can also conclude the report on price hike. So what have we discussed in this report, price hike? Look, we have we started with the sentence, hook sentence, where we say that the middle and low income group are in troubles because of the price hike. And then we also explained, we unfolded that how much problem they are facing. We said that the influence or the impact of price hike is noticed in every sector or in every sphere of the life of human beings, basically among the middle and lower income group people. And we have also given the examples of some necessary things, the price of which is higher than our expectation. And it has also been feared that if the trend continues, if the price rises further of the essential things, then it will be extremely difficult for the common people to buy things. They cannot buy, they cannot afford the most important things which are necessary for our survival, let alone fish and meat. So that has also been indicated over here. And at the end of the report, we have said that the Honorable Prime Minister has taken an initiative, and she has said that stern action will be taken if there is any initiative to form a syndicate. So this is how you can also conclude the report. Now, what have we learned from our discussion on report writing? We have learned from our discussion on report writing that our title has to be very attractive, and we don't need to maintain rigid grammatical rules in the title, but the title has to be very attractive, and auxiliary verbs are not at all necessary in the title. We can write the title of any news report in phrases, not in sentences. It doesn't look good. Then we will give the identity of the reporter, basically by giving or saying staff correspondent, and then inserting the date. Giving the name of the newspaper is not necessary. Then comes the hook sentence or the nut graph. The most important sentence. It should come first, and we will provide all the information in the hook sentence or in the nut graph, and then the body will come. In the body, we will explain everything in details, and I suggested that the body is better to confine the body of the report to 1 or 2 paragraphs, not more than that, and we don't need any formal conclusion in case of report writing. And remember one thing, a reporter is an objective person. He is not supposed to express his own emotions and passions in the report. I am repeating it, and that's why if he wants to say anything, he has to use quotation. That means someone else will say something that can be used as a quotation. So that's all about report writing in today's class. So thank you very much. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you.